Israel notes significant gaps after ceasefire talks with U.S., Qatar, Egypt, but says constructive U.S. sees signs of progress on deal to release hostages, bring temporary pause to Israel. Hamas war, Ukraine says corrupt officials stole $40 million meant to buy arms for the war with Russia. Today is Monday, January 29th, 2024. And this is the Dunkley Report. Israel says significant gaps remain after ceasefire talks with the United States, Qatar, and Egypt, but it calls them constructive and says they will continue in the week ahead. It's a tentative sign of progress on a potential agreement that could see Israel pause military operations against Hamas in exchange for the release of remaining hostages. Meanwhile, the U.S. announced its first military deaths in the region since the war began, and blamed Iran-backed militants amid concerns about a wider conflict. Gaza's 2.3 million people face a deepening humanitarian crisis as the UN urges supporters to resume funding its agency helping Palestinians. The United Nations top court has ordered Israel to do all it can to prevent death, destruction, and any acts of genocide in Gaza. But the panel stopped short Friday of ordering Israel to end the military offensive that has laid waste to the Palestinian enclave, in a ruling that will keep Israel under the legal lens for years to come. The court offered little other comfort to Israel in a genocide case brought by South Africa that goes to the core of one of the world's most intractable conflicts. The court's half-dozen orders will be difficult to achieve without some sort of ceasefire or pause in the fighting. In the aftermath of World War II and the murder by Nazi Germany of 6 million Jews in the Holocaust, the world united around the pledge, never again. A key part of that lofty aspiration was the drafting of a convention that codified and committed nations to prevent and punish a new crime, sometimes called the crime of crimes, genocide. The convention was drawn up in 1948, the year of Israel's creation as a Jewish state. Now that country is being accused by South Africa at the United Nations highest court of committing the very crime that is so deeply woven into its national identity. Israel vehemently rejects the claim and accuses Pretoria of providing political cover for Hamas. Poland on Sunday asked the European Commission to fix a social media post about the Holocaust, saying it wrongly linked the Auschwitz death camp to Poland. In a video posted Saturday to mark International Holocaust Remembrance Day, the European Commission's president and other commissioners read the names of Holocaust victims, while video captions noted their places of birth and death. Several victims were listed as murdered in Auschwitz, Poland, without noting that the notorious extermination camp was built and run by Nazi Germany during World War II. Polish Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski said the post should have noted that the camp was established under German occupation. Later Sunday, the captions were changed to Auschwitz, German Nazi extermination camp. Former Prime Minister Alexander Stubb has won the first round of Finland's presidential election and will face runner-up ex-Foreign Minister Pekka Haavisto in a runoff next month. The vote on Sunday centered on the Nordic nation's new role as a NATO frontline country, with Russia and the security situation in Europe. With 99.6% of votes counted, Stubb won the first round of the presidential election with 27.2% of the votes. Haavisto is an ex-foreign minister and took second place with 25.8%. Parliamentary Speaker Jussi Halla-aho came in third place with 19%, followed by Bank of Finland Governor Olli Rehn with 15.3%. Israel's allegations that 12 employees of a United Nations agency were involved in Hamas's October 7th attack have led the United States and several other countries to cut off funding. The accusations have also reignited debate over Gaza's biggest humanitarian aid provider. The UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, known as UNRWA, employs thousands of staffers and provides vital aid and services to millions of people across the Middle East. In Gaza, it has been the main supplier of food, water, and shelter to civilians during the Israel-Hamas war. Israel has long railed against the agency, accusing it of tolerating or even collaborating with Hamas. The Israeli allegations were detailed in a document obtained by the Associated Press on Monday. Attacks on ships in the Red Sea by Yemen's Houthi rebels have unraveled a key global trade route, forcing vessels into longer and more costly journeys around Africa. The disruption has forced car factories in Belgium and Berlin to idle. Spring fashion lines are delayed at a popular British department store. A Maryland company that makes hospital supplies doesn't know when to expect parts from Asia. The problem isn't nearly as bad as the supply chain logjams that caused delays, shortages, and higher prices in 2021 and 2022. But if the conflict in Gaza drags on, the trade disruption in the Red Sea could surge inflation. 3 West African nations of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have quit the regional economic bloc known as ECOWAS. Their respective juntas said in a joint statement on Sunday that the bloc has imposed inhumane sanctions to reverse the coups in their nations and has also moved away from the ideals of its founding fathers and Pan-Africanism after nearly 50 years of its establishment. They also alleged the bloc is under the influence of foreign powers. ECOWAS said it has not been notified about the country's decision. ECOWAS is widely seen as West Africa's top political and regional authority, but the 15-nation bloc has struggled in recent years to reverse rampant coups in the region. With protests outside a full arena, bullfights have resumed in Mexico City after the country's highest court temporarily revoked a local ruling that sided with animal rights defenders and suspended the events for more than a year and a half. The resumption of bullfights Sunday at Plaza Mexico has raised expectations of fans in the face of a lengthy legal battle between enthusiasts and opponents of the activity. Bullfighting foes argue it violates animal welfare and affects people's rights to a healthy environment. The arena in Mexico's capital is the largest of its kind in the world. The first bullfighter to enter the ring was the renowned Mexican matador Joselito Adame, as thousands of people cheered the return of Fiesta Brava. A bullfighting is also known in Spanish. France's Interior Ministry has ordered a large deployment of security forces around Paris as angry farmers threatened to head toward the capital. The order came hours after climate activists hurled soup at the glass protecting the Mona Lisa painting at the Louvre Museum. French farmers are putting pressure on the government to respond to their demands for better remuneration for their produce, less red tape, and protection against cheap imports. French Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin said 15,000 police officers are being deployed after an emergency meeting. Darmanin ordered security forces to prevent any blockade of Rungis International Market and Paris airports. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the international news for Monday, January 29th, 2024. Thanks again for joining us here at the Dunkley Report.